Summer routines live or die by how easy they are. And honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. We have an awesome guest this week, Ben Williams, former Gopher, former Viking, and an advocate for kidney disease and organ donations. And if you haven't read it, Jim wrote a wonderful article on Ben the last couple of days. So lots to get into, lots to read after if you're interested. So this will be fun coming up.
That's Dawn Mitchell from Fox 9. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is Dawn of Sports. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio. Best way to listen to this show or any of our many shows at the network, and by the way, we have 3 Viking shows on the network, is to subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Back to Dawn and Ben.
All right. Well, without further ado, Ben Williams. Ben, welcome to the podcast. You are such a joy as a person. I'm so excited that we can chat with you today. How are you?
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Jim. Pleasure being here. It's great to be here with you guys today.
You are such a busy guy. I know that you still have your hands in with the NFLPA as their president. You know, the Gophers, they can't let you go because, Minnesotans never let you go. And with the Viking season coming up. So how do you focus right now, all of your energy? Like right now, are you thrilled for the Gopher season to start? Are you thrilled for the Vikings? How are you on this side of it right now?
I'm excited for both right now. I mean, I'll be a Gopher through and through till the day they throw a little dirt on top of me. Also excited for the Viking season. I probably spend a little more time around the Vikings facility right now, being that I do a lot with the Vikings Legends Department, and I actually do game day compliance for the NFL on game day. So I'm on the sideline most of the day, so I have to be a little more, have a little more input with the Vikings organization. But looking for both to get kicked off, and hopefully both teams have a great season coming up.
Yeah, you got to keep them in line, right? Make sure their uniforms are up to snuff and everything's cool, or else they get little fines or something, right? Are you in charge of that?
I don't want to say little. So I mean, the fines can get pretty impactful. I mean, during the season, any infractions during the game that can actually cause you a personal fine. I have to look at a surface pad on the sideline and actually prove those things. But I've seen them get pretty high, plus 100K. They can get up there.
Oh my! Okay, so we should put little in like those air quotes. So it might be little for some people.
It's a perspective. It's a perspective thing. But we have some players these days who make $40-45 million a year. So it's proportional. Put it like that.
Is there a Dawn Mitchell or a Jim Suhan fine you can kind of institute that if one of those guys
we can come up with one really quick if you guys are like
can funnel right into our accounts maybe.
yeah, just give me 20 or 30K a piece and we'll put that towards a good cause.
Okay. I just want to congratulate both you and Jim because the article most recently it was brilliant and beautiful, which kind of sums up you, Ben, as a person. You underwent, if people are listening, they don't know, you underwent your kidney transplant in 2019. And ever since then, you have been an outstanding advocate. And am I right? I think when you and I chatted at Manny's that time, you said you were on the waiting list for years before you got yours. What was life like that? And what was that whole experience like?
I can honestly tell you it's a testing time period. I mean, once I found out that I was in end stage renal failure, what your imagination kind of goes wild. What is it going to be like? Am I going to be on on dialysis, and most people who do not deal with the organ donor process every day or who've witnessed someone who's went through that think this is kind of like an immediate process that you go
Mm.
into, even with a heart transplant, kidney, lung, whatever, that hey, you wake up one day and need an organ, and 4 days later, somebody gives you a phone call and tells you to show up at the hospital. But in reality, it's not really that way. That the average wait time for a kidney right now in the Midwest is probably +5, +6 years right now. So it's if
Oof.
you're lucky enough to acquire an organ from a personal donor, someone who knows you that says, "Hey, I'll give you a kidney," but actually on the list waiting for a donor, you'll be waiting for a while. I'll say average 5 or 6 years, and that can be a very trying time because your life changes dramatically. Because some of the things I took for granted, some of the freedoms that I took for granted, some of the activities that I enjoy, just some of the simple things of life actually change that day that you find out that your life or death is going to depend on
Mm.
acquiring a new organ.
Well, it must be, first of all, scary because you like you say, it's life and death, and you're worried about not only your health, your family, the people who love you. You've got all that to carry, but also the physical of how you're feeling day to day. How did you find out that you weren't? Was there something that first stemmed it for you to get checked out?
Uh, Great question. So my initial diagnosis of kidney failure probably happened, and say probably like 2010. I went to Mayo for a normal executive physical, and some of my numbers were off. Some of my creatinine numbers were really high, and there's probably a baseline that if you get to I'll probably say 10 or 12 on a creatinine scale. That pretty much means you had end stage renal failure. But at that time, I kind of thought that was, hey, that's it. But the point between end stage renal failure, and when you actually need a kidney or need to actually start doing dialysis can be a few years or 5 or 6 years. So it probably took from 2010 to probably like late 2018 until I really started to feel in the effects of kidney disease. And I think that summer, I mean, just doing normal activities, I just found myself being tired. And the way I would describe it to anyone, um, you have to think about it. None of the toxins in your body, once you get to that point, your body can actually excrete or get rid of. So I try to explain to people, imagine the worst hangover that you've ever had in your life that never leaves.
Oh, that's horrible. And for
Well, yeah.
people that don't know, they might just blow it off for a while, right?
Well, it gets to the point that you really couldn't blow it up because, I
Okay.
mean, it becomes unbearable. Like I was telling
Oh,
Jim the other day, one of the things that I really enjoy drinking is Diet Coke, especially McDonald's Diet Coke. And, over a 4 month period of time, Diet Coke went from something that I actually enjoyed every day to something that would induce me being sick for like 4 hours, simply
oh no.
because my body could not get rid of the toxins from that Diet Coke.
Oh my god. Um, it's like it's hard for people to wrap their brain around it, like something as daily as like a Diet Coke that could just put you like out for the day.
Well,
Did you at that point have dialysis or did you not know at that point?
I think I told Jim this. I mean, being an athlete and coming from an athletic background, my mind kicked into overdrive that, there has to be some innovative technique, some innovative drug, or some innovative treatment that I possibly could receive to stave off doing dialysis because, all of
Mm,
us have stereotypes about what dialysis is like. You
Right.
probably grew up around someone who had done dialysis, but you never think about yourself being
Right.
tied to that type treatment every day. So, I tried it all. I tried different meds. I went to Mexico for stem cell, and finally, my nephrologist at the time, who was a personal friend, I mean, I think we went out to dinner, and he simply told me, Ben, there are no more, uh, you know, silver bullets. You've exhausted everything, and I need you to come to the hospital so we can put a fistula in your left arm so we can start dialysis. And I went home, and it took me about 2 days to kind of ponder it that, hey, this game of running from kidney disease is finally over. And went in and had a fistula placed in my left arm, and let it heal for about 2 months, and dialysis started.
How did you handle that emotionally? That's something you have
Probably,
to come to grips with, right?
probably the toughest challenge I've ever had in my life, because athletics, especially football, you pride yourself on being tough. I break a finger, tough. I'm going to play through it. I have a meniscus tear, tough it, play through it. But
Mm.
I learned really fast that I wasn't tough enough to defeat an organ not functioning properly in my body. So, starting dialysis was quite the change. I mean, unless you experience it, you don't understand that dialysis is a daily thing.
Mhm.
So, I thought my mind said I can go in once a week and resume my life, resume golfing, resume traveling, resume, the things that have made my life what it was. But that's not factual. I started dialysis, and every day from 6 a.m. to noon, you're hooked to a machine.
There's a lot more to Ben's story. We'll also talk a little football here. I love the fact that he's buddies with John Randall, one of the great Vikings, who also still lives in Minnesota. Let's take care of the business. The business here quickly, though. We do want to let you know we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio. Thanks also to a great company. It does great work for a lot of Minnesotans, and also has been great to our network, Minnesota Masonic Charities. And thanks, as always, to the good people at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
All right, Dawn.
Well, Jim, you made the transition here. I do want to get back at some point to talk about your foundation, Ben, because you, after having gone through it yourself, I heard that you funded 8 mobile kidney dialysis units throughout Mississippi, and this is all where you're also maintaining your identity in the NFL, right? In terms of, I'm going to lead the Minnesota chapter of the NFLPA. I'm going to be on game compliance. I'm going to run this foundation. You are more determined than ever, I believe, to be a leader of men and help people. So I want to give you your kudos on that. But how do you manage all of that?
Well, how do I manage it? I think the first thing that is kind of like an epiphany moment in life is when you are weighing the option of, am I going to be alive or am I not?
Mm.
And you kind of have to take a step back and ask yourself, what has my life amounted to up to this point? And everybody that plays a sport, whether it be collegiate or professional, from the time you're 7 or 8 years old until the time you stop playing the game, that is your identity. Your identity is an athlete. And I think the moment that I found out that my life was going to be tethered to a
Mm.
dialysis machine, I made a choice at that time that I was going to extend my education, that I was going to really take stock of, what have I given back? What will I be remembered for? What have I added to society and community as a whole? And that's when things actually changed for me. I was like, my situation is tough, but what can I do to help others who are in a far more difficult situation than I was in? Minnesota's blessed with some of the best medical facilities and institutions in America. You have the University of Minnesota, you have Mayo, but putting it lightly, Mississippi is a medical desert. So, there are people that have to drive 2 or 3 hours to do dialysis. And, that's kind of where the idea about some of the mobile dialysis units came from, and talking about leading the, Minnesota chapter of the NFLPA. We have a lot of former players that leave the game, from 1 or 2 year players to guys who are, Hall of Fame and Ring of Honor level players that, publicly will not tell you this, but that transition from playing days and off the field to managing to reinvent themselves in life, that's a struggle. Many might not admit that, but that's a struggle for a lot of players. And a lot of players get lost in that journey or that transition. And I thought that stepping up to the plate and having the trust of guys to vote me in as a president was my way to lend some of my time and effort and diligence to assisting former players and current players alike.
Well, I'm so glad you ended up settling in Minnesota and doing all these great things. It also reminds me of a conversation I had with John Randall. I can't remember when it was, but John's from Texas, played Minnesota. After his career, went back to Texas for a while. Then he realized that he had a daughter with some health issues, and he just realized she was going to be better served in Minnesota than anywhere else. He moved back up here, and then he takes up golf, plays golf with Randall McDaniel, and he's a man about town. Tell us about your relationship with John and what it was like to play with John, on that '98 team.
Probably one of the most driven, focused, and unbreakable athletes I've ever been around in my life. Similar backgrounds, similar start to interest in the NFL. I mean, we laugh about it sometimes in that, coming out of Texas, not an NFL team thought that he was viable in size, viable in skill, and viable in effort. And to start and think at 31 teams, thought he wasn't a great option, and ended up being an undrafted free agent here. And at the end of his career, being a first ballot Hall of Famer is a testament to his work ethic. But we spent a lot of time. I don't think there's a day that goes by that we aren't either sharing Instagram stories or talking about politics, talking about football, or talking about something. It usually starts about 8 o'clock in the morning, but there's not a day that we don't communicate about something.
That's great. And just to follow up on that, I told Ben this, Don, and I was covering I came from Dallas to cover the Vikings in 1990. And I'm blanking on the year they got John Randall, but remember the draft was like 12 rounds back then. 32 teams didn't want John Randall through 12 rounds or whatever it was. And the Vikings signed him. They had a tip. They signed him as an undrafted free agent. And I go out to watch John practice for the first time in purple. It's one of those, spring practices for draftees and free agents. And he's going up against a great offensive line, Randall McDaniel, Gary Zimmerman, all pro type guys. And he's driving them absolutely nuts. And I'm standing next to, Frank Gilliam and Jerry Reichow were pretty much the entire personnel department for many years. And they're standing there going, okay, I think we found something.
I think so.
Yeah, you can say that lightly. Like I can honestly say that he is probably the only player that I've ever played with on any level that does not understand the definition of half speed.
Yep.
No, there's no half speed anything. Walking to the cafeteria, full speed. Watching film, full speed. I mean, everything's full speed. And I think that mentality and him constantly using that chip of no one wanted me is what drove him to greatness.
Mm. You know, when I was a kid, first of all, Jim knows this. My mom, even though I grew up in New England, my mom also loved the Vikings. She said, I love myself an underdog. I just love this team. So I grew up watching, and the commercial that John Randall was in, where he was sewing the Favre jersey for a chicken. You remember that? And he's
one of the great
chasing
commercials
the
of all
chicken.
time.
Yes,
Like,
yes, I do. Great commercial.
yes, it's emblazoned in my mind. And so then, years later, I end up coming here, and he was already done playing, but just getting to meet him. Well, then he was on my wiffle ball team for the Hendrickson Foundation. And that's all I could see in my mind is like, okay, he was running around like a kid, chasing people, hitting home runs. I mean, exuberant. So you said he still to this
No,
day does not do anything slow.
No. Some people, there are a lot of players, and Jim will attest to this. Both of you guys do it because you've been around sports. There are a lot of players who have dual personalities. They have a in front of the camera personality, then they have a personality outside of sports. And I can diligently say that Johnny is like that 24/7. He is 100 miles an hour to 24 hours a day.
Well, listen, I have to give you your props and your flowers too, because all right, you might have a different personality or chill, but you have not stopped. Like we talked about not only your foundation, but are you still going for your law degree? You already have your MBA from the Kelly
Yeah,
School of Business. You're going for
yeah,
your law degree. I mean, come on, Ben, you're the exact same in just a different body form.
yeah. I mean, but what's the saying? What the football saying we used to have is there are no days like either you're getting better or you're getting worse. There's no homeostasis in life. So,
True.
chase the dream, chase them until you can't chase anymore because some people become stagnant in life. And I think stagnancy is a breeding ground for being comfortable and laziness. So as long as I can have the energy and the drive to keep trying to attain goals and push myself, I'm going to continue to do it because we have limited time on this ride of life, and I'm going to try to make the best of what I have left and the gift that young man left me in the kidney, and play it out to the fullest.
I'm glad you mentioned that young man. You people who are listening, like you said, we started this off. You had a kidney transplant, so someone donated their kidney for you to have life, and so you're such a proponent of that. A friend of mine, she was on the podcast not too long ago, Jordana Green, had a different kind. She had a bone marrow kind of a transplant for her leukemia. These people that live on through you, literally, they need to be acknowledged. So how has that changed your life, knowing that somebody's life is responsible for helping you?
Um, I would the overview I would say is a tale of two polar opposite emotions. The kidney that I received, and what I've learned since that day I received the transplant. Uh, Young 18-year-old kid, I think from northern Minnesota, uh, unfortunately got into a car accident and was life flighted to the U. And after I probably think about 5 or 6 days, was on life support. And at some period of time during those last 2 days, uh, fortunately, his family made the decision uh, to sign and offer. Um, I don't want to get all emotional about this, but to sign and
Mhm.
actually offer his organs for donation
Mhm.
once they took him off life support. So every functional organ that young man had, and anything they could use, went on to
Mhm.
save someone's life. And luckily enough, uh, blood type, antibody type, and all the things that would make us viable matches for each other fit. And that young kidney is what extended my life. But like I said, the emotional the polar opposite of emotion. I think Jim and I talked about this at the hospital. I'm happy and on cloud nine that at some point, Thanksgiving Day of 2019, that this kidney is going to change my life and going to be like a refresher battery for my life. And to think that in that same hospital, probably on the floor below me, uh, a set of parents, family, extended family, brothers and sisters, were making preparation to, the final moments of seeing their son alive and brother alive, and how they were going to start making plans for a funeral. So it's a diametric emotion. So I appreciate the sacrifice that that family made for me and made for others, and I do not take it lightly.
And you are living proof of doing good and helping others, and paying it forward, right? That's very important too.
Definitely so. I mean, one of the big things that I'm driving right now is, and I hope the men that are listening to this actually take heed to it. Men are proportionally lower organ donors. So to my men in the Minnesota communities and the minority communities, please check the box on your driver's license, and think about the lives that you can help once this life comes to an end for us all. And I think a lot of the apprehension about organ donor and being a donor comes from misinformation, and people need to inform themselves more about how they could be helpful to multiple lives if they choose to only check that box on their driver's license. So they go out there and check the box.
Just check the box. I checked the box, Ben. I've checked the box. And I think it took me a while when you're young, you don't really even think about that. But as you get older, and just because you haven't checked the box, people, you can check it later. When you get older, you start realizing these things, and maybe how can I help someone going forward? And it's an important lesson, and it's important word to get out there. And I did not know that men were lower than women in terms of
greater rate, probably 40% lower.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I don't know. Probably men are a little more apprehensive about medical care and the medical system as a whole. But like I said, if do your research, do due diligence, spend some time understanding how you can help others with becoming an organ donor.
Well, not to abruptly change gears, but we started this by saying that you're a Gopher for life, and a Viking. Also, purple never let you go, especially here in Minnesota. You have the Gophers starting this week, the Vikings starting, and you're excited. Is there maybe perhaps one player on the Gophers and on the Vikings that you are very, very excited about? Maybe you circle more than one, but is there someone like this is the kid, and then this is the guy that I'm looking at?
Well, I mean, being that I'm around more Vikings, I have several players I watch on the Vikings. Ooh. We have a couple of former, a new addition who's a former Gopher, Max, to the team. So welcome, Max. And I think at the U, Core Pond he's an exciting player. I think he is just tapping the surface on his skill set, and some of the things he did as a true freshman are, actually fabulous. I mean, I think he's the first All-American we had at a defensive position as a freshman, probably going back to the 1970s. Impressive. Really excited to see what he's going to do this year, being a two-way player, and hopefully we'll make a New Year's Day bowl, go undefeated and finally win a Big Ten championship this year.
Talking about Max a little bit, it seems like the groundswell was, yes, we want him to make the 53. We want him to do it. he is a guy that as soon as he got to Minnesota, made the most of his opportunities, get a shot for the Vikings, made the most of his opportunities. I mean, we've seen that in Adam Thielen. I mean, we've seen players get their shot and make the most of their opportunities, but he has something special. And then the fact is to see him get the start in that final preseason game and show more of it. As a former golfer, you got to be so proud. But as a player, what does it take mentally to kind of get to that point and do what he does when he has those chances?
Well, I mean, probably, there are a lot of talented players in college.
Oh, yeah.
But the transition from the college game to the pro game, as both of you guys know, is quite different. And to see how he acclimated during training camp was impressive. And to spending days there and hear how some of the front office was glowing about, how he picked up the pro game, the speed of it, the reads of it, and made it actually look easy, was promising at that time. But you know how it goes in pro sports. I mean, they could trade for a player at any moment, but like I said, he never wavered during training camp. But I'm excited to see what his future holds.
Yeah, I think he's just been inspiring to watch. And someone had told me, someone on the team said, out of all of us, we were like, he watches every piece of film. He comes prepared. He knew he watched the film. Oh yeah, I already watched that game of blah, 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 blah. And they're like, wow, look at this kid, this rookie. He's backing it up with his actions and then putting it on the field.
There's so many, I talked to, matter of fact, when I was in DC for the Lifetime Achievement Award, I was talking to a lot of former players, guys who played, like Doug Williams was part of that induction class. So him and I were talking about, what makes good pros good pros. And so many players, after they leave the game, they look back and they say, well, if I had done this different, if I had invested a little more time in, training during the off season, a film study, and things like that. It's really difficult to look at a moment sometimes for guys, and I'll applaud a young guy who didn't get drafted high, free agent who understood that I'm going to put it all out there. I'm going to do everything that I can do to give myself the best chance of making a football team. So even if I don't make this team or get picked up by another thing, I can go home with comfort knowing that I actually emptied the tank and gave it my all and trying to make a football team. Because so many players don't actually do that. Once you leave the game or on the outside, there are guys who've been out of football 40 years who tell me things they could have done different. But to have the foresight to do some of the things he's done, it's impressive.
No doubt about it. By the way, we might have buried the lead on this. Ben recently did win or was awarded with the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden. Got to go to D.C. and hang out with Doug Williams, who's one of the great players of all time, first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Such cool stuff. How does that hit you? I mean, that not many people win an award like that. Not many football players, not many human beings win an award like that. What was that like?
Oh, wow. Probably the most humbling and just taken aback situation that I've been in my life, because for most of us, we do things because we think that it's the right thing to do. I mean, most of the things we talked about, from our foundation to things I've done with former players to, decisions I've made about education or pushing education and things like that. You do not do these things with a goal in mind. You do them because you feel that it's the right thing to do. And to be honest with you, before April, I had never heard of this award. And at the beginning, I started to get emails about it, and honestly, I thought it was an old teammate pranking me with with these emails with a presidential like logo and stuff. But let's fast forward to like May and June, and I actually started getting phone calls and saw some of the people actually on some of the Zoom meetings we had. I'm like, this is actually real, and hearing some of the stories of how much time they actually put into vetting your life. I think the vetting process is like 2.5 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I was like, wow, this is kind of serious. And the closer it actually came to going to DC, it became more realistic. And flying there and showing up at the hotel, and like I said, sitting down with Doug and meeting some of the former um, award winners, like who was the first guy I saw in the hotel lobby? Dwayne Wade's father was there. He received an award last year, and sitting around talking to some of those guys and what it meant to their lives and how it changed their lives. It's quite the honor.
Oh, Ben, well deserved. And yes, we did bury the lead. What was the reception like amongst like your friends and family? Especially, I love the story that you thought you're being pranked. I mean, that's hilarious. But
It's the
what
truth.
was that like?
It's like none of us think that the White House in DC, that whole arena is so far from most of our minds. And like I said, for like the first month, I was just like, okay, this is spam, or somebody's like pranking me. But when the phone calls started coming and we have Zoom meetings to talk about how this is going to be, security stuff and all that, I was like, okay, this is real. But once I made preparation to go there, and I knew it was to go, and I started to tell my family, I think they probably took a step back and asked me, did I realize how significant that was? And I don't know if I still have absorbed it, but my only answer is since I've left football, I've tried to do things that were right, that I thought were needed in underserved communities. And I don't know how someone decided to find me in the land of 10,000 lakes, but I'm truly appreciative. I'm truly appreciative and honored that I would be considered for an award like this, and I'm going to make them proud because I'm going to continue the work.
Oh, well, Ben, I am proud to know you. You are a tireless worker. You're deserving of all of the awards and the kudos, and you're just a wonderful human being. So I'm so excited for your next ventures. I can't wait to see what you do with them, and I think that people should be celebrating you. And I know you're kind of humble about it, but I love the article that Jim wrote. So whoever's listening to this, you should read that. And Ben, you are amazing. I love how you say that you're changing the game for those with kidney disease, but I think you're changing the game for anyone who looks up to you, whether it's a young man, a young woman, just to do so much with their life and to keep going forward. You're an amazing person. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope that I'm able, if I can affect one life, I'll be happy. What is the saying? I actually was on the phone with my mom last night, and we chatted for a while. And I think I read, I'm not sure who the author is, but what is the saying? That old men plant trees for shade that they'll never enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great saying.
And I hope that years after I'm dead and gone, they'll say that Ben Williams planted trees that he never saw the shade of.
Well, amen to that.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah, Ben, thank you for joining us. So appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.